we're talking about the danger of raga tanha, which is sexual craving. And this is something that one should know about, because it's a very powerful thing, and it's a big enemy to everyone, really. It's one of the most powerful of the kilesas, and from this can arise greed, and the hate can arise, can drive them up like that. Very powerful. That's the thing that brings one back to life, time after time. So it's the sort of instigator of rebirth, rather tanha. And it can come out in all sorts of forms. Aggression, it can come out in greed, it can come out in hate, it can come out in even in delusion. It can come out, making a person dull and lazy and so on. All sorts of ways it can come out. In fact, you can say the majority of the trouble in the world is due to just that. If you look at Yugoslavia, you see that that's where it's from. All that. Just raga tanha. And it's the most dangerous thing. And this is a thing that one should be on the watch for, and watch out for very much. And question oneself about it. One should think about it and try and investigate it. Because it's very important. It's the main cause of endless dukkha. Kanchan speaks a lot about it. He warns people about it. Because that's the prime instigator of rebirth, the person who attains to anagamin is not reborn, because that's destroyed. So once that's gone, there's no more rebirth. Not to this world anyway. Rebirth in physical form can't be there, because there's nothing to cause it. The thing that brings it out, brings it back, is gone. So one should investigate this, look into oneself, search it out, get to know it thoroughly. So this is one of the worst of the kilesas, and very important. It comes under the general heading of greed, but it's often, in Karmatana circles, it's given almost a separate existence, because they're so important, so powerful, and so important. And in fact, it can come up as greed, certainly. It can also come up as hate. It can come up as delusion too. It can bring any of these up. The raga tanha arises, then it will come out in different ways. Okay. And it comes out not only in the obvious ways of sex, but also in other ways, in sort of diversions of that, in unmindful behaviour, in personal display of all sorts of things in the world, trying to display oneself, trying to show up how clever one is. All sorts of things like that come out from it. Because of that, conceit can often come from it as well. It can come up with conceit. It's a very important factor, that, and a very dangerous one. You can see the behaviour of these chickens also sometimes. You see it in their behaviour and the way they act. I mean, what makes the cockerels fight each other? Just that. It's interesting. I'm not sure you probably read about this Japanese sect which has caused a lot of trouble. They put out this poison gas. It looks as though the background of that is rather probably unrecognized. And this is what's behind it. Their idea was that they were going to take over the country because they didn't like the way it was going. In other words, we are the best. We're the ones who want to be in power. We want power. The wanting of power is so often that, nothing else but that. Wanting to be powerful. The idea behind power is often security for self. But it's the wrong type of thing. It isn't really a security at all. It doesn't work that way. But this is the way the kilesas think of it. But it can come out in all sorts of ways. It can come up as aggression. It can come up as ambition. It can come up as the sort of thing you get in an office where somebody's trying to get themselves up by treading other people down, climbing the ladder, you know. That sort of thing, it can be rather tanha. Because it's the seeing, I am best, I am the one. And it's the raga tanha one that's doing that, pushing one up all the time, making out one big and important and so on. And if one learns to see it, one will realize what comes from it, you know, the sort of things that can come from it. And they're quite extensive. And the thing is, although one can't do much about it in the world, one can do quite a lot about it in oneself. So one must look out for that, and look out for that, and be aware of it very much. And try to overcome it. The overcoming of it, the antidote, is the contemplation of the body and the asubha practices. Contemplation of dead bodies, the decaying bodies and so on. All this goes right against raga tanha and can overcome it quite effectively. There's a story of a bhikkhu who fell in love with some beautiful girl at the time of the Buddha. Anyway, this girl died, so the Buddha had this bhikkhu come along to see to the funeral at the cremation ground. And in those days they didn't burn them, they just threw them out on the ground. And the Buddha then said to him, "Now, this woman here, you can have her as much as you like." It enables him to break through and see his own raga tanha. And I think he gained, I don't know whether it was Sotapanna, this was Asima. But this was the Buddha's very clever method of overcoming his problem. Sometimes it's worthwhile, if one has trouble with it, to think up some horrific image of a dead body. And if you find raga tanha arises, then you bring that up. And that you can find it in yourself. Everything just sort of cools off. It's very effective. You need an antidote to it when it arises. And if you've prepared one by your own contemplations in the past, then you can use that. If you've ever seen a dead body, most people have, then you can bring that image up. Think about it. Bring that up too. That can help. But this factor, raga tanha, is so dangerous that one needs something to get it under control. And if one prepares oneself with something like a sort of horrific image of a dead body, then it can help very much. You can use that. When it comes up, bring that up and think about it, and you find everything cools off straight away. It's like sort of pouring water on a fire. Feeling that people want in order to confirm self. People want to feel themselves and feel that I am. Because if they don't have anything to show that I am, there's nothing that you can pin onto at all. Nothing you can sort of say, this is what I am. You know. But people want to have some feeling there, distinct feeling. This is one of the troubles. If people have the idea of self there and they cling to this idea of self, then they're constantly wanting feeling and something to support it all the time. It's hard work. It's dukkha. If one can just drop that one. I'm not saying you can just drop it like that, you can't. People can't just drop things, because if they drop self in one way, they'll just take it up in another way. You can't just drop it like that. The only thing you can do is work at the practice, develop sila samadhi panya until the chitta develops. When the chitta develops to a sufficient level, the dropping of those sort of things will come up. You don't need to do anything. This is what happens, and it's dropped. One doesn't need to do anything. The kilesa, a group of kilesas, which are most important for everyone anyway for a very long time, are those under raga tanha, sexual craving. These are the important ones. I would say that 80% of the teacher Sampada is dealing with that. Sexual craving. The whole thing is dealing with sex, it's dealing with rebirth. What is it if not sex? So this is the important one. And the thing that's the basis of this is the body. So this is the thing to get. And if you do body contemplation and see the asupa side of it, that will quieten down the raga tanha. It cools it off. And it brings it under some control. Otherwise it can go wild. And the thing is to realize how much comes from raga tanha. It's not a simple thing at all. It's not just sort of seeing women and being attracted. That's not it. It's much more than that. I mean, the aggression that's in the world largely comes from raga tanha. You think of the aggression in Yugoslavia, that sort of thing comes. Raga tanha is behind a lot of that. Great deal. And the disturbance, the anger that people get into, all this is from raga tanha. Much more than anything.
I don't understand how do you link aggression with raga tanha? It's just
well,
raga usually the desire for something.
Well, it's like you see, there's a lot of chickens around here, and you look at two of these cocks. They get when their wives. When one of the others goes after its wife, they go, wow, like that. That sort of thing. And this is the fundamental thing that's there. I mean, it can come up in this way, aggression against other people, because one feels that one's superior to them, and they think that they're superior to you, and one proves it. What is proving? Except trying to prove it towards the other sex. Really, it comes to that. It's the psychology. It's a very powerful thing. And if one can overcome that, of course, one overcomes the rebirth problem back to this world. That's all.
Do you feel there's any danger with Westerners doing these, like say, super practices, or developing too much self-loathing or self-hatred, or getting into nihilism a bit?
Yes, there's always danger. And it's because of this that the Buddha said that when one does his super practices, it's good also to do something that calms one down, like anapana, or metta, something of that sort. You need to pull it off a bit, because when one does their super practices, one can also get states of discontent arising, all sorts of irritation. One doesn't know what they come from. One doesn't realize they come from the practice one can do. It's the kilesas, because it's getting at the kilesas. And when you get to the kilesas, they fight back. And the very fact of that irritation and so on coming up means to say that it's doing something. But one mustn't let it get too far until one's really ready to tackle the kilesas fully. If one's a pretty bold sort of person, one may be able to tackle them directly and say, to hell with it, I'm going on with this and deal with these kilesas. But most people can't do that. So they have to ease off a bit and do something like metta or anapana. But it shows up very well whether one can do it or not. If one starts doing it, and in no time the mind goes into distraction, you have to do some samadhi practice. You should never practice the contemplations or the dhutangas until it has managed samadhi. The thing one has to be careful of, if one's character is that of dosa charita, in other words, tends to get angry easily, anger tends to come up easily, then one must be very careful in doing the contemplations on the body. It's all right doing it on the physical body as it is. But if you go into your subha practices, it'll stir up the anger. You do the practice at night, and then the next day you kind of get up and you're always sort of like angry at everything, like that. If one realizes what's happening and one controls that anger, it doesn't matter. But most people, they give way to it, which isn't good. If one finds that, then one shouldn't do that practice. One should do something that's more soothing. And if it's the breathing, you've got to select a point somewhere up in the nose or on the upper lip. And you select that point where you feel it most strongly. And you must keep your attention at that point. When you breathe, you mustn't follow the breath out and in. Because if you follow it out and in, when you get calm, the calm will be going out and in also. So one has to keep it at that one point and know the breath passing that one point. Rather like if you go to the seaside and you watch the tide and there's a rock there and you can see it lapping back and forward past that rock. You keep your attention on the rock. It's like that. And if one does that, then one keeps it there, before long you'll get results from it. If you don't get results, it's almost certain that the trouble is distraction, other thoughts coming up. And thinking can be very, very subtle, and where you forget it quickly, but it's still going on. And you've got to overcome that before you can really get into a calm state. The calm state is valuable, and one should go on with the practice until you can develop the calm state quite easily. It should be something that you can almost go into it straight away. When you can do that, then the mind is well fitted to go in for wisdom. And you can turn and develop the wisdom from that. And wisdom means that you investigate, you look, you search, you think. When you do the samadhi practice, you try to stop thinking. When you do the wisdom, you've got to think. But not in the way you did before. You've got to think under control. And you think looking at usually the body to start with. And when you start with the body, you look at it externally, and then later internally, all over. There are many ways of doing it. You can even make up your own if you like. There's no fixed way. There are many ways, and one should pick something that suits one's own character. And when you do the wisdom practice like this, to start with, you will find it is mainly intellectual. You see the body from memory. You visualize the body, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong. This is sort of getting the preliminaries going. Once one's done that, then the time may come when you start getting some real insight. And the real insight is a realization of what you've seen with the intellect. The realization comes in the sense that you see part of the body, maybe it's an arm, and you feel that this is not me, it's not mine. It's just something apart from me altogether. And it's a sort of strange feeling when you know it's true, and you know it's unusual for you, and you know that it's sort of hitting home somewhere inside. This is the nature of the wisdom. One can't really describe it properly. You've just got to experience it. But it isn't just ordinary thinking, and it isn't ordinary speculation or discursive thought or analysis or something of that sort. It's none of those. It's just seeing in a different way. It's seeing with wisdom. And if you can do that, that is the aim of the practice. Because the aim of the practice is to destroy the kilesas. And to destroy the kilesas, you have to destroy the wanting, tanha, craving. And to destroy the wanting, you have to see what exactly one's attached to, because the wanting creates the attachment. The attachment depends on wanting. And if you see the attachments you've got, and you see them in this new light, you'll realize how empty they are. When you see them as empty, the desire for them tends to diminish, and in the end disappear. And the diminishing is automatic. You don't have to do anything. When you see them like that, the wisdom does its own work. And the tendency to want things, the tendency to crave for things, and the greed and hate that's involved in that, they all die away steadily. This is the aim of the practice. As they die away steadily, the kilesas get less. And because they get less, one feels lighter and more buoyant. One feels more free. And one knows it's good. And when you go on doing that enough, you're approaching the goal. That's the way of practice, as I understand it. Question?
When you did body contemplation, was there a certain part of the body that you were most interested in? How did you do body contemplation?
I used the general kammatthana, kesa, loma, naka, danta, tacho, through the 32 parts. If you would do that and you go through each part, trying to put it in mind, you can visualize it, you can locate it as a location, and you go through this, and the sort of regular way of doing it is you go through the parts, one after another, but if you find the one part catches your attention and your interest, you should stay with that part while you're interested. If the interest dies away, okay, you've gone with your rest, and you go on back and forward. Go forward and you go back, go forward and back. And when you keep on doing that, the interest in the body starts to arise. And it's that's important. When the interest arises, one starts eliminating some parts of the body which don't mean much to you. And you concentrate on the others. And eventually it'll probably come down to one part or one group, which is most important for you. Typically bones, that sort of thing, comes up as the thing that's most important. Bones is often the one with people. Many people like that. It doesn't have to be bones. Bones I found very effective. Bones in the joints and the way they move. And the seeing of, particularly the feet. It's almost so you can see every bone in it. You can see them moving when you walk. It's not seeing like seeing with your eye, but seeing with the mind. You can't look at it with your eyes, obviously. I mean, that's not practical. Another thing I would say for new bhikkhus One of the things very hard to control is raga tanha, sex. Now, probably the most effective way of controlling this is contemplation of the body. If one finds that raga tanha is arising, anything's wrong, contemplate the body. I mean, traditionally there's the two parts. But anyway, see the asubha side of it. See the thing as a mess. See it as though it's all broken up. Think of corpses, that sort of thing. Now you find, although you won't see, you won't feel in yourself any special result, you find that the raga tanha has dropped. There's a very good test for this. You watch your dreams. When one has a lot of raga tanha, the tendency is to dream of women and all the rest of it. You know. When you do this contemplation, the women don't come near you in dreams. You may see them, but they won't come near you. It's quite interesting, the effect it has. And it's almost as though it's pushing you away in some way. One doesn't know quite how. I think this can work physically with women as well. If women are coming too close and becoming rather a nuisance, just contemplate the body. Think of them as a lot of bones and flesh and mess and blood and so on, you know, shit and so on, all the rest of it. And you find that they're repulsed. This is a protection that people should have. Because women are very unstable and unpredictable, many of them, some of them, not all of them, some of them. And one needs some protection. And that's an important one.
Yeah, I've had problems with that. Old girlfriends and things just kind of keep coming back and just kind of pop into my head. Is there any kind of pattern to when one has?
Well, if the girlfriends come into one's head, okay, cut her head off. See the blood coming out. Pull the meat off. Look at the bones. You know. And the thing is, you'll find a repulsion from doing that. Think, oh, I mustn't do it with her. Why not? Not harming her. It's just in one's own mind. All it's doing is it's doing some damage to the image one has of her. That's all. Not harm her at all. So that's probably the best way to deal with that one. But one has to make a determination to do it. And if one just sort of lets it come up and one doesn't make a determination, it won't have any effect. The thought will just go on in this direction.
How to overcome sexual desire?
How
to overcome sexual desire?
The direct way is the asubha practice. See the loathsomeness of bodies, dead bodies. This is the best way. One mustn't underrate sexual desire. It's very strong, and it's one of the major kilesas, if not the major kilesa, really. Raga tanha in Pali. It's very hard to overcome. But one who overcomes it attains an argument. Because at an argument one doesn't come back. And it's the sexual desire that brings one back all the time to this world. The wanting of bodies, the liking of bodies, the attachment to them. This is what brings one back. So the attaining of an argument is the one that prevents one coming back. Because the wanting dies away then. This is where the body practice comes in, very valuable. You see the nature of the body, and when you've seen it properly, the wanting of bodies won't be there.
Paul, what form does thinking take when it is actually wisdom that differentiates it from ordinary thinking?
Oh, it's a bit like this. There's a skin here. Now what is the skin made of? Is it pleasant? Do I get sukha from this? How long will it last? Do I think that this is me? what happens if I take the skin off? What's it like underneath? Thinking like that. And thinking about it all the time. I'm thinking, this body, where did it come from? It came from this world. It belongs to this world. It goes back to this world. Why should I think this body is mine? It belongs to the world. Thinking about that, and after a time one starts seeing it. When one sees it, the idea of the body's not me becomes stronger. It's like that, the thinking. It's got to go everywhere and think everywhere and see things. And when the wisdom is really developed, then it's a matter of wherever you look, you see wisdom. You see things with wisdom. You can see it and see what's happening. You see people act, and you know why they act like that perfectly well. They just show it up straight away. And wisdom tells you. All sorts of things, you see. Little things, I mean, you don't always talk about them, of course, but you see, oh, it's like this here, it's like that there. And they tell you things. That's the way of it. And one mustn't think the kilesas are small, or don't matter. They do. All the trouble in the world, anyway, human trouble in the world, comes from kilesa. I mean, guns don't shoot themselves, and bombs don't drop them. People don't torture themselves, not mostly anyway, but all these things happen when people have kilesas. You get all these troubles coming up. And this is the way of kilesas. They're not small. And the most important of the kilesas is, of course, raga tanha, sex craving. It's very important. And it comes up in all sorts of ways. In the male it comes up as aggression. In the female it comes up as enticement. And you get these two pull, well, push and pull as it is. And the thing is that these spread out into other activities. And you get aggression coming up in business, in war, in sport. All over the place you get these things coming up. And these factors, which come from raga tanha, they're very important in human beings. In fact, I would say raga tanha is probably the most important group of kilesas in the human being. If one can overcome that, raga tanha, then you're okay. You needn't worry. Because that's an argument.
And then does raga tanha include all the sense desires or just the sexual stuff?
You can't fix any real boundary. Because when you come to investigate this and look at it, you find all sorts of things you never realized before were raga tanha. And the way the human mind thinks is symbolic. It uses symbols all the time. And the sexual symbols they're all over the place. And people use them, they don't even realize it. Somebody who's learnt to see, they can see things that the people do, and the symbols they have, and the way they talk, and the images they have, and you see they're sex symbols, half of them anyway, or more. But they don't see it, people don't realize it. They don't realize the way they work, that's why.
These days in advertisement, they seem to make a purposeful tactic to make things sexual.
Oh yeah,
Even though, I mean, they're very conscious of what they're doing and playing on people's kilesas.
Yes. Yes, you can see it all over the place in adverts. Yes, quite true.
Is that why body investigation is emphasized?
Yes, the body contemplation and the asupas. The asupa contemplations are the ones to deal with sex craving. If it comes up, the asupa contemplations are the antidote. They're very effective.